Hello, everybody, and welcome to Master Tape Theater. We are the world's first and only video podcast dedicated to the history and preservation of live audience concert recordings. And I am your host, the one-man crime spree, the world champion of videos, and the man that's causing all of this, Roy Goddamn. And I am joined by my esteemed colleague, the Duke of Danzig, the Alpha Romeo, Eric the Ladies Fight for His Delight Lawton. How you doing this week, Boo-Boo?
I'm doing all right, buddy. Stayed up late last night watching some videos off the network, that Ramon 77, which I've loved since he put it up, and it's just so authentic. And when we watched that big Van Halen video, man, that's pretty fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah, that show is...
Good memories for that. Right.
Yep.
I'm digging it, man. DLR is fucking a hoot. Back in those days.
Well, that is the ultimate remaster of the new Montreal show. For me this week, man, it's just, I hate to brag, but it's good to be king, dude. We're getting so many views. It's shocking. I mean, we got 4,000 views on episode 10 and over 2,000 views on episode 11. And we've made it all the way to week 12 with no breaks. And I think that's a really big accomplishment, man.
Hell yeah, man. It's good to be king.
Yeah, man. Being number two, we're number two right now. There's not too many people that are getting more views than us. But that's the power of bootlegs. That's the power of the underground, dude. We are the fastest rising show. I think we got to get involved in this Rockin' Pod shit, man.
Oh, yeah. I've been hearing about that, man.
Yeah. Maybe we'll show up in Nashville this year and take over the whole fucking thing, man.
Yeah.
So right now I wanted to tell everybody, in case you didn't notice, we had a lot of great additions to the network this week. We had Skid Row live in Japan, 1989. That was a tape that was taken directly from the NHK Broadcast Master tape, man. And it's Skid Row in 1989. I love that footage. The audio was really hot on that when we were mastering it. They almost sound like a punk band. They're really, really aggressive, dude. It is not
they were really in their prime at that point, man.
Yeah. It is. Skid Row! It is not 18 in Life hair metal. Dude, that is some rock and roll punk rock shit. You got to check it out. Then, of course, we have the Van Halen 1984 Montreal remaster shot by Eric and Pierre, one of the biggest Van Halen bootlegs of all time. Then we also had 1987 Bon Jovi from Quebec City. That was filmed by Eric of the duo of Eric and Pierre. I'm really trying to rapidly make sure that we get all of their shows up on the network as quickly as we can from first gen or master quality sources.
I love those shows. I love all their stuff, man. It's amazing. You know, I love that old stuff.
Yeah, man. Then we also had the 1987 Sheffield, England, UK, The Cult from the Electric Tour. That is one of my favorite bootleg videos of all time. I had actually put that on the network when we first started, and I had no idea what I was doing before I had my conversion formula down, but I decided that I wanted to go in now and make, one big show. It's the whole show in one chunk, remastered, the best it has ever been, dude.
I still haven't seen it. I gotta admit, I have not seen that one yet. I like The Cult a lot. I'm not a huge fan.
Dude, you gotta see it. They got like stairs. It's just like Kiss in 1977. I know that you love Kiss so much, so you will like
I do. I do
like the
Kiss.
stairs. They have some pyro and some stairs. It's very Kiss-like. And then of course, I saved the best for last. There is the 1994 Kiss show from.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep, that's right. I put it up this week, 60 frames per second, from the 1994 Phoenix, Arizona State Fair, dude. It's a really unique piece of footage because they sort of threw it together. It's considered the Kiss My Ass tour. Kiss did not do a lot of shows in 1994. They were actually kind of recording Carnival of Souls, and they were playing state fairs, man. I remember when I filmed it, I paid $10 to get into to the fair. and then I went into like a 10,000 seat arena, and dude, it's like 3,000 people in that room, man.
I'll have a side of Kiss with that funnel cake, please.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I was eating a funnel cake and filming Kiss, but it was a good time, and a good time was had by all that night. But not only did we add all of those shows to the network this week, but we now have our private Patreon-only viewer channel. These videos were put up just for the Patreon subscribers. We put up Black Sabbath 1981 from London. Absolutely really amazing early footage of Black Sabbath in their prime with Dio. We also put up a Cheap Trick from Miami 1999. It's on the Music with Hangover tours. It's a pirate satellite feed from Disneyland. Really cool stuff. 40-minute performance pro shot. We also put up the Fun Loving Criminals from Italy 1996. One of my favorite bands. A lot of people might remember the song Scooby Snacks. Starts out with a really cool intro that has a sample from Pulp Fiction. They had a couple of hits on MTV. They were one of my favorite bands, and this is really early footage of them from 1996 playing at a film festival in Italy from their very first album release, Come Find Yourself. I love that show. We got Pat Benatar live at the US Festival 1983.
Wow.
Yeah, the most amazing quality version of this show that has ever been produced. Amazing sound mastering, perfect mint quality video, absolutely stunning. And then, of course, the last one we have on our private network channel for this week is LL Cool J live in Miami, 1992. Ladies love Cool J. I think that's kind of where Eric stole his whole, the ladies fight for his delight thing. I think that might be where he got. That's where he got his gimmick, is his love for LL Cool J. But those are the new
Mama Said Knock You Out tour.
That would have been 92. I think that would have been around that period, man. I don't know. He
was kind of like crossing over into the rock territory or something.
Yeah, I definitely think that was around that time. It's a great show. It's up on our private Patreon channel. But right now, let's get to the viewer questions, man. Do you have any viewer questions for me this week?
I got a couple, actually. The first one is from a guy calling himself Metallicanor. It's the long one. Hold on. Is the quality really better if you bloat the picture up to 1080? I'm just curious how you can make a normal NTSC signal from a Japanese TV that is 30 frames per second, and the resolution is transferred from 576 to 1080-60 FPS. If I do this, I make lossy video instead of making it better. I've been a collector and a filmer for 40 years now.
Okay, well, for people that don't understand Martian talk, that's a very technical question about the conversion techniques that we use here at Master Tape Network. A lot of old school guys really don't understand that you can make streams better than physical DVDs. I mean, we've proved it. We've got a bunch of groups on Facebook, and literally just last week we put out a DVD of the Kiss Phoenix show, and then we put out the stream on the network, and we literally had hundreds of people saying that the stream on YouTube looked like a Blu-ray and the DVD was a complete joke, man. But, so here's what's up. For all those guys that are confused, I mean, why does there always got to be one guy that's like, oh, your streams are so good, man. They make me salty and shit. I mean, look, our conversion techniques are our secret sauce, okay? I mean, I can't tell you how Superman flies. If you want to learn how to do what we do, then you learn how to convert videos better than us, and you prove me wrong and do it better. And until that day comes, I'd like for, guys like Metal Canor to, kindly keep their dick taster shut, because I've kind of had enough of all of these people complaining about our conversion techniques, because it's very simple. Show me a better one on YouTube and I'll roll up the goddamn sidewalks, close up shop, piss on the fire, call in the dogs. I'm done. Let's go home. We're never going to do this again. If you can show me a better stream than anything that we have on the network, then you have my word. I will shut this motherfucker down and quit, man. Any more questions?
Right.
Any more questions?
That's going to be a hard one to top, bro. We got Jose Salazar, Houston, Texas. Can you tell me any interesting stories about bootleggers getting busted? Got any more of those ones, man?
Well, I mean, I have a million stories about, people getting busted and their houses getting raided and stuff, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that comes to mind. I know last week we talked about Mark Cicchini, the Video King. Yeah, Mark Cicchini, the Video King from Three Sides of the Coin podcast. I'll tell you another interesting busting story. I actually have one. There are three guys that host that show. There are Michael Brandvold, Mark Cicchini, and Tommy Summers. Now, Tommy Summers lives in Minneapolis, and what a lot of people don't know about Tommy Summers is he used to be one of the biggest VHS bootleg video distributors in the country. He traveled around to all the big record stores and record shows, and he sold bootleg videos. And a lot of people don't know that, because on that show they try to kind of proclaim that they're like good friends with Kiss. But if they're good friends with Kiss, let me tell you about Tommy Summers. Tommy Summers was actually busted by Clear Channel. Clear Channel called the FBI, sent them to his house. I mean, dude, he was crying and shit. They dragged him out of his house in handcuffs. But Tommy Summers has been deeply involved in Kiss video bootlegs for many, many years. So if the perception is that Kiss doesn't work with bootleggers, then, they might want to look in their own backyard, because I recently just saw some photos of a bunch of the guys like in Kiss's warehouse. I don't know. I can remember the story about Gene Simmons. I'm going to stomp on the cockroach in my kitchen. Well, I'll leave the lights on for you, because you got three of them in your warehouse right now, man. But,
right.
So actually this week we are joined by Real 808, aka Bobby Jones. Now, Bobby Jones is my left-hand man. He helps me run a lot of our Facebook pages and all of our online presence, and he's helping in a lot of different ways to spread the message of Master Tape Network. But Bobby Jones is a video DVD author. He's been highly involved in the torrent sites, and that's something that we talked about a little bit in our interview here, and that was the state of torrent sites. A lot of people don't know, but torrent sites are really on the down, man. Jam to This just closed, which was one of the bigger sites for rock and metal bands. But they just decided to close up shop. It's been 15 years and it seems like the community is hurting. So this is me and Bobby Jones discussing the torrent community, bootlegs. He asks me a few questions, but this is me and Real 808, aka Bobby Jones, right now. Right now, I'm happy to be joined by Real 808, aka Bobby Jones. Bobby is one of the newest additions to the network. He helps us out with all of our social media sites. He is a bootleg historian with a collection of over 6,000 live concerts. He has a lot of involvement in the torrent sites. And for those that don't know, torrent sites are essentially a website where a modern day version of trading. People basically have, I give it to you and you give it to me at the same time. It's a lot of people don't know what torrent sites, but Bobby has been very involved in the torrent community for many years. When did you first discover bootlegs and torrent sites, Bobby?
Uh, about 1999, around that area,
All right,
when
man.
I finally got into torrent.
Yeah. So, what was the very first bootleg that you ever saw, and when did you even really become aware of all of this?
Well, the first bootleg I ever owned was Motley Crue, and it was Tacoma from the Girls, Girls, Girls tour. But when I first got into doing torrents and found out how to share torrents and such, that came much later.
Okay.
Well,
So,
I like to author shows that I like. If there's something special happened at the show, if say Nikki Sixx jumps out into the crowd, or Sebastian Bach gets hit with a bottle, or Axl Rose goes off, something like that happens. That's
sounds
the show I like to author. If it's not already done, of course.
So you're looking for historically significant moments that were caught on film. I think that's what most bootleg fans usually look for. I mean, another big part of the magic of bootlegs is finding the shows that you were at, man. I mean, that's what really makes people love them. One of the things, Bobby has really become like one of my music soul brothers. He's, totally loves all bootlegs, not just one genre of music. I mean, I know that you have a vast Prince collection.
I do.
How many Prince DVDs do you think you have, man? Because you have more than me, and I was shocked.
It's over 100. I have 100 spindle that's completely full, and another 100 spindle that's at least about half full of just Prince.
And tell me a little bit, if you would, about your YouTube channel. I know that you used to have a YouTube channel that was dedicated to Prince, and it was taken down off of YouTube, which is something that, all YouTube channels face that provide this type of content. But tell me a little bit about that story and what happened.
Well, after Prince passed away, rest in peace, he I went to share as many concerts as I could. I would rip them from DVD and share them in the best way I knew how, which isn't anything close to what you're doing. But I did a service for the people that love Prince,
Well, I
and that
remember.
missed him.
I remember when Prince passed away, there was actually a time where on YouTube there was almost no Prince videos, and when he passed away, it was kind of strange because I noticed that all of a
I was
sudden,
part of that explosion.
I mean, there was an explosion of video, and I couldn't quite figure it out. I mean, everybody knows that Prince has a very deep hatred for people giving away his material online and everything, but I mean, when he passed away, it was, I noticed that the huge explosion on YouTube, and I wonder why they allowed that for the time that they did. But it sounds like what you're telling me is eventually they decided that was enough sharing. We're taking them back down.
Well, the family got involved, and when the family found out, well, I'm sure they probably knew right away, but they found out about their rights, and the lawyers got involved, and they started taking us all down.
Right, man, that's a shame. I mean, someday we're definitely going to be able to share those Prince shows when we get the APK, the streaming app. I'm going to put up all of the Prince shows, and there's just no way anybody's going to be able to stop us because, a cease and desist to me is pretty much the equivalent of toilet paper. So, I mean, when the time comes and the app comes, we're going to have Prince, hundreds of Prince concerts, and the
Wow.
best quality you've ever seen. They will be shared. They will be seen, man. So I myself have been involved in torrent sites. For many years myself, I've shared some of my shows on torrent sites before I started the network. But in the recent days, we've had quite a few torrent sites shutting down, like Jam to This. There's basically been a decline in the community of sharing, man. Why do you think that that's happening? Do you think it'll ever come back? What do you think's going on with torrenting? Because it just feels as if fans are no longer freely sharing things. It seems just a very different vibe.
Well, I hope it comes back. I mean, I of course, Jam to This was my home. You know, I shared and I made a name for myself sharing shows on Jam to This, and yeah, that really tore me apart when it shut down. I mean, there's still several others. You know, I guess I won't go in and list them, but I think most people are afraid of the legal ramifications of sharing.
That's the funniest part of the whole thing, man. I mean, the legal ramifications now are almost non existent. I mean, people are really living in 1994. And I'm going to tell you, in 1994, bootleg CDs were the thing, okay? VHS was sort of the secondary market, and I was always a VHS guy. I was never into audio recording or audio, selling of CDs. CDs wasn't my thing, but in 1994, the RIAA was just on the warpath with trying to take down every CD distributor that they could. So, they raided record shops and they went to record conventions and places, I mean, guitar shows, and they would, arrest people and take away all of their material and fans wouldn't be able to get that stuff. But, essentially, I don't see that happening these days. I mean, if you do your research, there used to be a company called Gray Zone that worked in conjunction with the RIA. They were essentially a watchdog group. And they would go around, blowing the whistle on anyone that they would find with unofficial material. But, I mean, I got to be honest, dude, I do my research, and the RIA is pretty much not doing anything. Their entire existence now is trying to calm the fire of online downloading. And ultimately, when stuff like Spotify came along and all of that, they started, the record labels and the publishers of these of the material started to realize, okay, now we're getting a piece of this download pie, and it just seemed to have a culling and a calming effect on the enforcement of stopping sharing. It's almost non-existent. I mean, if you look at YouTube right now, YouTube is essentially the world's biggest piracy machine.
It is, absolutely.
I mean,
is.
you can look up any record, any song, remix, anything, and listen to it for free.
And as soon as they come out, you can listen to the whole album.
Yeah, I mean,
when the albums come out, like on Fridays, I wait, for Fridays to come because that's the day new music gets released. And on my Facebook channel, my Facebook page, I post albums, the playlist for the whole album when they come out.
The thing about it is that I feel that in some way YouTube has softened enforcement, because they do get blowback from YouTube. It's not to the tune of what they would like, but almost all of the record companies and almost all of the publishers will institute third-party monetization of the videos on YouTube. A lot of the videos that we have, it'll say copyright claim, and it will say we're allowing you to share this video as long as the publishers get all of the money for the clicks on your video. But the thing about it is that we're never.
That happened on my channel too.
Right. Well, we are never going to monetize Master Tape Network, and that we have several reasons for doing that. One, we feel that shows that we're doing this for the spirit of music and the love of the art of bootlegs and stuff. I mean, it's not about the money. But we also don't want to monetize the channel because it keeps us commercial free. You might notice that on our channel, when you play a video, you don't have to sit through an ad before it airs. Right. It just automatically plays. If I monetize the channel, all of a sudden you're going to see every time you click on one of our shows, there'll be a little video. Then you get to watch our concerts. So we have no intentions of ever modifying or monetizing the way that we do things, because we just want to make sure that we stay ad free.
But how about when you get the app? When you get the money that you're saving up for the app, how about then? Will it be monetized then?
Well,
to progress things. I understand where the money would go. I'm just asking.
Right. Well, when we get the app built, we will most likely have some form of, it will be for our supporters, people that support the network. Because not only once we complete the project, then we get to look forward to $600 a month of bills to keep the app alive. So, and that falls exclusively on me and the people that support the app. So that's why you have to support the app, man. I know I've been pushing that a lot last week, this week, but the app is the most important thing because YouTube is temporary and it may not last, man. Just like when your channel was taken down, we could all get up tomorrow and, Master Tape Network is gone.
I'm 100% behind that. I would love to see a whole lot of prints being shared, a whole lot of other artists that won't allow things to be shared to be out there.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're looking to do when we launch the app. It's about being able to share the bands that nobody else can share. There's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo involved, but the black and white version of what we're going to be doing is this is going to be on a server that's in a place that they won't be able to stop, even if they know who is the creator of the app. We're living in sort of the old west when it comes to streaming and online media and stuff. And I feel that, maybe someday they might want to work together with us to, keep this archive alive because, Master Tape Network is essentially for educational purposes. Sure, we all enjoy it, but there is a history involved that was archived by, hundreds and hundreds of people that archived a music history that is not just MTV or, the DVDs that the bands put out. There is an entire archived music history of the underground, and that's what Master Tape Network exists to, to preserve. So what was the very first show that you ever shared on the torrent sites when you first became aware?
Well, it was a two-parter. It was Damn Yankees opening for Bad Company. It was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania in 1991.
It's kind of a hard period to get, man. 1991. To me, bootlegs from the 80s until about 91 are the glory days of the hardest times that it was that you could film in. It was not easy to get away with filming back then. But so what are some of your other favorite one cam audience shows, man?
Well, I really like that Prince Oakland 97 show that you filmed yourself.
Well, actually, that is sort of unreleased. I know that there were some VHS copies that were around back in the day, but right now, that's pretty much never been seen before. I shot Prince in 1997 in Oakland, California. I was literally, dude, in the very last seat, in the very top of the arena. If you watch that footage, you can actually see the catwalks of the arena up across the top because I was so high that, he was like tiny, man. That arena was huge. And that jam
powerful lens, eh?
Yeah, powerful lens. But it was not my best work, and that's one of the reasons why I never actually actively shared it. But I gave it to you because you're such a big fan, and
yeah, even me, even as much Prince as I try to gather and collect, I had never seen or even heard of that show until you brought it up, and it's special.
Yeah, we have a lot of those, dude. That 1997 Jam of the Year tour was kind of a weird period for him. He didn't play a ton of the hits. He played very funked out versions of stuff. It was just a very different show, man.
Well, that leads me to ask you a question. All right. Okay. I hear that you started the whole bootleg DVD thing. Is that true? And if so, do you have it? What was the first DVD that you ever did?
Okay, to my knowledge, I was maybe, quite possibly, the very first person to ever produce a bootleg DVD. Now, I'm talking about not just transferring a show to a DVD, okay? I'm talking about menus,
Putting songs on chapters.
Full Hollywood production stuff, man. Now, the very first one that we ever did was a Kiss show. We did the
No
Kiss Vision.
surprise.
Right, we did the Kiss Vision remaster shows, but shortly after that, I started a little label called Hard One Video. And Hard One Video was actually a tribute to a filmer.
I saw your In the Beginning Motley Crue one.
That was actually the very first one. Motley Crue In the Beginning was followed up by Randy Rhoads' Six String God. And those were done by Hard One Video. Yep, we used to sell those. Well, I didn't used to sell those, but someone I knew sold those on eBay. But I was the one who produced those. And to my knowledge, nobody knew about DVDs or was unable to do that because when we made those DVDs, I'll never forget it, the very first copy of In the Beginning sold for $150.
Wow.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean,
see, that's why I share on torrent sites. All this stuff is free.
Well, when we did this, there were no torrent sites. There was no way to share a file that big, so you had to get it on there. So, you had to get it on eBay or from some sort of an auction site or someone that you knew. I mean, even at record shows and stuff, there were no bootleg DVDs. I remember when I took In the Beginning and the Kiss Vision Remasters series and the Six String God to a few record shows, and I showed them to some video vendors. They lost
Six String Gods. That's like documentary style.
Yeah, they lost their mind. Well, there was a time when I really cared about the presentation of it, and over time, I couldn't dedicate all of my time to making them all as beautiful as those titles. But I mean, other ones that we did that were really quick after that, and that's not a concert, but Vanilla Ice, Cool as Ice was one of them that we did.
Never heard of it. Okay.
Well, it was the movie that Vanilla Ice.
All right, stop, collaborate, and listen.
Well, I went out and I got I went out and got a laser disc of the movie, which essentially a laser disc was just a big giant DVD, and we captured the laser disc and we made a DVD of it, and I put it on eBay, and we were getting like $100 a piece.
Boom. Yeah.
And it's actually still not commercially available to this day and still being sold as a bootleg on eBay and other auction sites. You can still go out and buy a copy of Vanilla Ice, Cool as Ice on DVD bootleg, man. It's out there.
Okay, I like this. I like this where I ask you questions instead of you asking me questions.
Okay. What
how
else
many
you got?
Manson films? I know you work with Marilyn Manson. I saw all your other podcasts. Okay, first off, what was it like meeting him the first time?
Well, the story of how I met Marilyn Manson is kind of strange. Okay. First time I ever saw Marilyn Manson was on MTV, the Get Your Gun video. And I was just, this is the shit. I mean, instantly sold and into it, and I loved it. And I was going to be visiting a friend of mine in Alabama, of all places. So one of my friends, John in Boston from International Transfers, he called me up and said, hey, man, Nine Inch Nails is going to be playing in Nashville, which is really close to Alabama, sort of, kind of. So he's like, you got to go film Nine Inch Nails. They hate bootlegs, and I want you to go film them. So I went and filmed Nine Inch Nails in Nashville, which was one of the very first shows that we ever put up on the network. But, I didn't really even know that they hated bootlegs until he told me.
I didn't know that either.
Well, at the time, they were not completely into it. Trent has had a 100% about-face turn, is totally into internet sharing and making sure people get stuff for free, probably just to make sure nobody can sell it, which is a good approach most bands should take. But
I'm with that. But shows like, recently Dave Grohl fell off the stage again. Right.
Yeah,
a little while back, he fell off and he broke his leg. But just the other day, he was in a concert and he fell off the stage again. Shows like that, I would like to see. And
That was actually right here in Vegas, and I saw that clip too. It made all of the internet news shows. But,
yeah,
so anyway, back to how I met Marilyn Manson.
okay, yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay, man. So I basically was there to film Nine Inch Nails, and I decided to just film Marilyn Manson. And so I'm filming Marilyn Manson, and I go home, and I had already seen the video, and I was just hooked on Marilyn Manson, and I was convinced he was going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone, sell 1 million records. He was going to be the next big thing. So then
And he
it
was.
turns out that they were coming to San Diego. So I returned home to San Diego where I lived at the time, and they were playing, opening up for Danzig at the Starlight Bowl in San Diego, California. So I went out and I made a bunch of bootleg videotapes, Kiss, Wasp, like things that I knew that he liked. And I literally just camped out by his bus in my car, the Pantera Mobile, which we've talked about on other shows. So me and my brother just hung out by the bus. And when they finally came out for sound check, I just walked up to him and I said, "Hey man, I'm a big fan of the band." And I gave him a bunch of bootleg videotapes. And that's what opened the door for me and Marilyn Manson, was a box with 10 bootleg shows in it. And it pretty much became a thing where he would ask me for concerts of his favorite bands, and then that morphed into me following the band around, meeting other fans, and then he just started to notice. I would be like, "Hey man, I'm gonna come to Dallas next week and I film you guys," or whatever. So he just, he started to know that I would be there. And then that led into some of the stories that we told on the other shows where they finally gave us laminates, and, it just kept evolving and going. And we, filmed a ton of shows, and, I was friends with him from 1994 until about 1998. And that was the last time I spoke with Manson. I've reached out to him a few times, and it was pleasant, and we said hello to each other, but, he seems to have no interest in releasing any of the old footage. And maybe someday I will be able to speak with Tony, who is still his manager, and maybe we can find a way to get some of the stuff released on an official release of some kind. Maybe they'll do a remastering of Antichrist Superstar and want to include video clips or something. And I think I would be their go-to guy for that, because I was the guy who he let film back then, man.
That would be awesome. Especially the early stuff, like the Spooky Kids era, before the Switch.
Most of the Spooky Kids footage that I have in my possession was given to me by people. I became friends with Gidget, who was the original bass player for the band. Gidget Geen was his name. I became friends with him through some VHS trading. Friends of mine hooked me up with him, so he was giving me stuff, and he hooked me up with a guy who owned one of the clubs in Florida who filmed them a few times. But I mean, most of the shows that I have are the shows that are in circulation. It's just that I have a superior
copy.
Yeah, a better copy than most people, because I got them from the source. Because at the time, people didn't care about Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids. They couldn't figure out why I even wanted it. But I was convinced that Marilyn Manson was going to be the biggest thing since bread. And, we had to go ahead and, archive the hell out of him. I mean, Marilyn Manson was one of those bands who literally, it was built on the back of bootlegs, man. I mean, if you were there in 94, 95, early 96, I've never seen so many people want bootleg videos. I remember when I filmed Marilyn Manson in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I actually had a little store in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina called Rock and Roll University, and another one that was called Can-Am Gifts. And they were not record stores, or they were actually beachwear stores that sold t-shirts and things like that. And I remember one day they called me on the phone and they said, "We need 100 copies of Marilyn Manson live in Myrtle Beach." And I'm like,
Oh wow,
100.
that's work.
And back then, those VHS tapes were heavy. They were in clamshell cases. So I sent them basically, a Foot Locker sized box with 100 copies of Marilyn Manson Myrtle Beach, right? So that them wanting 100 wasn't even the proof that I needed. He was going to be the big guy on the block. But what happened was they called me a week later and said we need 100 more.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, you sold 100 copies. Now Myrtle Beach is like a tourist area, and this shop was called Can-Am Gifts. It was down on the boulevard, so they had an insane amount of foot traffic. Like 100,000 new people would come through that town every 2 or 3 days. So, they would have people from, all the surrounding areas coming to this store. And, that store eventually ended up getting visited by Dave Matthews lawyers, man. Dave Matthews was super anti-bootleg, and I dabbled in the Dave Matthews business for a short time.
That's another artist. I thought he was 100% behind bootlegs.
Well, that's the thing. He loves audience-recorded shows, but selling them is an ultimate no-no. But, let's just face it. People just like torrents.
Well, if there's a want, then there's going to be someone out there selling. That's just how it goes.
Right. There has to be a supplier. For this to ever be what it became, for bootlegs to matter, there had to be people that were willing to buy them and people that were willing to sell them way before the sharing. But as you see today, the sharing community is on its knees, man. And I don't think it's because of possible enforcement. I feel like that it's really on its knees because people are just too goddamn selfish to share now.
Yeah, or lazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rules involved, and you have to do this, you have to do that.
Right.
You have to set up the list.
And that's why I feel that ultimately torrent sites, as awesome as they were in the mid-2000s, will ultimately fall to the wayside, making the app become the most important thing on the planet, dude. I mean, if I don't do this app, I don't know anybody that will. If somebody else wants to do it, give me a call. I'll sell you all the shit. You can do it for me, and I don't have to do all the work, But
I hope you get that call. No, I hope it gets done. Regardless who does it, I hope it gets done.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. We're not going to sell everything. I'm going to complete the app no matter what. I just hope that it's on the scale that we've described and promised to everyone, man. Any more questions for me?
Oh, I could go on and on. We'd be here all day if you wanted me to ask you all of them.
Well, this guy definitely knows his stuff. He knows every major filmer that's ever come down the pike. When I met him, he knew all about me and the shows that I filmed. So,
well, not all about, but I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm still very interested in the topic. How many shows have you filmed?
Maybe 500-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm actually small, man. I am not the king of videos. I never came here to be the king of videos or the authority on bootlegs or any of the things that are sort of starting to happen. But honest to God, the king of bootlegs is Joe.
Joe.
The king of Philly. He's filmed more shows. He's done more for the community than anyone else. He is still out there filming 4 or 5 nights a week. He has what I would describe as almost a sickness for bootlegs, man.
I have an affinity for living after midnight shows, but I understand that Joe would be the answer there.
Well, Kevin was a legend. He is now retired. That would be Living After Midnight, New York City Bitch Committee. Anybody that follows the game knows those two names. But, to me, Joe is the current king. Kevin was the one-time king. But somehow we're all one big monster, man. We were the network. We were the guys. There were 6 of us involved. We were the guys that filmed the majority of the shows from 92 to 2005. And some of us are still going and still sharing and still putting that footage out there. But let's just hope that bootlegs stay alive forever, man.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank you for joining us this week on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome back anytime, dude. That's it, guys. We're going to have Bobby back in the future. If you want to find him, he is Bobby Jones on Facebook or Real 808 on the torrent sites.
Next time we talk more about Prince.
He is my left-hand man. I've got my right-hand man, Jason Sanders. We're going to have him on the show very soon. These guys help us run the Facebook pages. If you don't know about them, find us on Facebook, and we'll take you to a very special secret page that will help you all get physical copies of these concerts. So that's it, man. Come and find us on Facebook and come and get it. And there it is, me and Bobby Jones, Real 808, talking about bootlegs and the current state of torrent sites, and him pretty much interviewing me, asking me more questions than I asked him. I don't know how that worked out, man. But Bobby Jones is a true bootleg historian. He really knows his stuff. When I first met him, he knew more about me and Kevin and Joe and all of the guys from the network maybe than I knew. I mean, he knew about every show I ever filmed. I mean, he's a really cool guy. Pretty soon, I would love to get my right-hand man, Jason Sanders, on the show to talk about bootlegs. He is another huge collector, highly involved in the torrent circles. He helps us run all of our Facebook groups. So if you find us on Facebook, we will lead you to some cool physical DVDs. But just come and find me or Eric or any of the people that help out the network on Facebook. If you support the network, we support you. That's just about it for this week, man. Do you have anything that you want to add, dude?
No, I just heard about this new band called Greta Van Fleet. They sound just like Zeppelin, man. I mean,
Wait a minute. So I am not that familiar with that. That's what I keep hearing. So did he directly rip off Led Zeppelin?
There's like fucking rip-off bands. I remember the first time I heard Creed, I thought like, this is the best Pearl Jam song I've ever heard. When I heard My Own Prison by Creed, I seriously, literally thought it was Pearl Jam. But then as they went on, they kind of had their own like original sound. They Creed. I mean, but Greta Van Fleet, like note for note. I mean, the singer, everything he does is like a complete Led Zeppelin carbon copy ripoff. It's insane. I've never seen anything like it.
For me, Led Zeppelin was bad enough the first time around, so I don't need to hear it again. But I
mean, I hear this band's the future of rock and all that. They're the hot band right now. So this is all we got, dude. Is
so many people are gonna kick my ass about saying that I don't like Led Zeppelin, dude. But yeah, man. And then Creed, for fuck's sake, dude. I mean, they were rocking for Jesus and shit. Creed, Nickelback. I mean, these are bands for people that don't like music. I mean, I really despise those. Everybody's got their limits, and I'm setting a limit right here, right now. You will never, ever see a Creed video on this fucking channel or a fucking Nickelback one. So I'm just putting it right here, right now. Fuck those two guys. They're out of here. We're not going to ever have them, man. But I'm Roy Goddamn. He's Eric Lawton, and we'll see you next week.